Stop what you are doing right now, because what I am about to explain quietly changes the foundation of the global financial system you rely on. And I am not chasing clicks, because the decision made overnight rewrites how power, money, and resources function together. While most people were distracted by charts, opinions, and social media noise, something far more serious happened behind closed government doors. It is Monday, January 9th, 26, and the United States government just approved a massive silver acquisition program worth $2.5 billion. At first glance, that number might not scare you, especially in a world addicted to trillion-dollar deficits and endless money creation cycles. But silver is not stocks, not bonds, and not digital tokens floating inside a screen, because silver is physical, finite, and essential. Silver is required for missiles, satellites, energy grids, medical equipment, and advanced electronics that keep modern civilization functioning every single day. When a government decides silver is a national security priority, it stops being an investment and becomes a strategic survival resource overnight.
Please pause here, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share this analysis, because understanding this moment early could protect your future decisions.
For years, analysts tracked traditional silver buyers like banks, corporations, and foreign governments, believing those players define the limits of demand. That assumption collapsed instantly because a new buyer entered the market, one that does not negotiate, hesitate, or respect price discovery mechanisms. The United States government does not buy metals the way investors do, because it buys based on necessity, not valuation, emotion, or technical indicators. When national security is involved, price becomes irrelevant. Timelines shrink, and supply chains are forced to bend or break under pressure. $2.5 billion directed at silver is not symbolic, because the physical silver market is far smaller than most people realize. Annual investment-grade silver supply is extremely limited, especially when industrial demand already consumes the majority of newly mined material. This means government demand directly competes with technology companies, defense contractors, renewable energy producers, and everyday buyers like you.
Unlike private buyers, governments do not stop purchasing when prices rise, because failure to acquire metal creates risks they cannot tolerate.
That single fact changes everything, because it introduces unlimited demand into a market already suffering from tight supply and structural weakness. This decision did not appear randomly, and it certainly was not made casually or without reviewing internal inventory and dependency reports. The government sees import dependence, fragile trade routes, geopolitical tension, and shrinking reserves that expose dangerous national vulnerabilities. Silver flows heavily from foreign sources, and any disruption instantly impacts defense readiness, energy infrastructure, and advanced manufacturing output. When leaders recognize that risk, they act aggressively, quietly, and decisively before the public understands what is happening. This is not speculation, panic, or conspiracy, because governments historically secure critical resources before admitting shortages exist publicly. What you are witnessing now is the transition from a just-in-time economy to a just-in-case survival model. That shift always favors those who act early, understand incentives, and hold real assets instead of promises dependent on functioning systems. This moment marks the beginning of a new phase, where silver stops behaving like a trade and starts behaving like insurance. And once insurance becomes mandatory, availability disappears faster than most people expect. To understand why this government action matters so much, you must understand how fragile the physical silver market already was before today. For years, paper trading masked shortages, allowing contracts to trade freely while actual metal quietly disappeared from vaults and supply chains. The system worked only because most participants never demanded delivery, trusting paper claims instead of insisting on physical settlement.
That fragile balance has now broken, because industrial users, governments, and institutions are demanding metal, not promises, at the same time.
When real demand collides with limited supply, paper mechanisms fail quickly, violently, and without regard for historical price patterns. This is exactly why the government announcement is not bullish in a traditional sense, but destabilizing in a structural sense. A government buyer does not participate in markets, it overrides them using authority, urgency, and financial firepower without normal constraints. Once that happens, price stops acting as a rationing mechanism and starts acting as a lagging indicator of stress. I want you to pause again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay engaged, because this next part explains the timeline clearly. Physical silver inventories are not deep, and available registered supply represents only a small fraction of outstanding paper claims. When large buyers begin removing metal instead of rolling contracts, vaults drain faster than the system can replenish them. Mining cannot respond quickly because silver production depends on long project cycles, declining ore grades, and unstable geopolitical regions. Recycling helps, but it cannot fill the gap when multiple sovereign and industrial buyers demand immediate delivery simultaneously. This creates a countdown, not a debate, because supply mathematics does not care about opinions, forecasts, or emotional reactions. Once available metal drops below delivery obligations, exchanges face an impossible choice between default or forced cash settlement. Cash settlement sounds harmless until you realize it removes your access to metal during the exact moment metal matters most. When physical and paper prices separate, the screen price becomes meaningless because no one can buy metal at that level. This is not about profit. It is about control, continuity, and maintaining operational capability during uncertain global conditions. As silver becomes strategic, access becomes restricted, and retail availability tightens long before official shortages are admitted. As silver becomes strategic, access becomes restricted, and retail availability tightens long before official shortages are admitted. Dealers respond by raising minimums, limiting quantities, and prioritizing large buyers who can move volume efficiently. Dealers respond by raising minimums, limiting quantities, and prioritizing large buyers who can move volume efficiently. At this stage, waiting for confirmation becomes the most expensive decision because confirmation arrives only after availability disappears. I am not telling you to panic, but I am telling you to recognize that timing matters more than price right now. When systems shift, those who hesitate pay premiums, wait months, or receive substitutes instead of the asset they wanted. Silver does not fail, but systems built on leverage and assumptions often do under sustained physical stress. This is why holding something real, tangible, and unencumbered becomes increasingly valuable during transitions like this. The government understands this reality clearly, which is why it is acting now, quietly, before public narratives catch up. Once awareness spreads, competition intensifies, supply tightens further, and rational decisions become emotionally driven. That is when markets move fastest, because fear replaces analysis and availability replaces price as the deciding factor. We are not there yet, but the direction is set, and reversals at this stage are extremely rare historically. The takeaway is simple. This is not about predicting prices, but about understanding access, priority, and system behavior. Those who understand early position calmly, while those who realize late react emotionally under pressure. This shift will not announce itself loudly. It will reveal itself through delays, limits, and sudden unavailability. By the time headlines catch up, decisions will already have been made by those who acted beforehand. That is why this moment matters, and why ignoring it carries more risk than engaging with it thoughtfully. The system is changing, quietly but decisively, and silver sits at the center of that change. And once the door closes, it does not reopen on the same terms.